you may recall that I had mentioned to you the reverse Polish notation calculator when we were doing the preview information, and this is actually that program demonstrated. What we're going to do here is make a catch variable when we pop off the stack, make again an array-based stack implemented as an array, and we'll push two numbers onto the stack. We're making a calculator. Keep in mind that's what we're doing. Push two numbers onto the stack, then add them up. So we're going to go look at an add function, right, that we wrote, and then we'll pop the numbers, pop the sum off, because this add function is going to end up pushing a sum onto the stack after it adds them. So when you pop the first thing off, the first thing is the sum. And then we'll push on two more numbers, and then we'll do a subtract problem. And again, the answer will be on the top of the stack. We'll pop it off and display it. So let's go over and see that we added that. Actually, all those other functions aren't even here anymore. All we have is a constructor. And actually, oops, you know what, well, I'm not going to run it, but we included the int stack, so we could go get all of those functions without rewriting them. And then this is just the math stack derived publicly from int stack, and we'll add these two functions. So here you have a derived class, actually. And in the math stack, you would have to put, I don't have the int stack in here. Oh well, but that's okay, you would do that. You know, in the main here, we only have to call the math stack because it calls the int stack. Okay, let's go look at our two functions. Here's our add function, and there's some description there for you can look at. So we'll make an int called num and an int called sum. And then the first thing we did, interestingly, what they did is when we did the push operation, we pushed 3 on and pushed 6 on. When we did the, come over here. When we did the pushes, we didn't call them yet, but we're going to call them now that we're popping them off. When we pop them off, the first one we pop, we're going to call sum. It's the same thing as num plus equals num2. It's the same idea. So the first one we pop off, we'll just call it num. And then the second one we pop off, or call it sum. And the second one we pop off, we'll call it num. And then we say to the sum, take the number that was originally in there and add num. You see, which adds the two numbers together. Then we'll push the sum back onto the stack, which is why when you get to the program over here, and when you pop off what we call catch variable, it pops the sum off. Little bit different way of thinking of things, but in assembly language, this is the way things are done. So we don't teach assembly language anymore. Okay, so now subtract function. You remember that the name of the answer in subtract is called the difference. Do you remember that? Okay, so again, we'll pop the first number off and we'll just call it difference. We'll pop the second number off and call it num. And then we'll say to subtract from difference the value num and store the result back in difference. And what did we have? The first number was 7 and the second number was 10. So we pushed it on, so that number, that 7's at the bottom and the 10's at the top. Well, it's not at the bottom, but whatever, down below. So when we pop the, wrong file. When we pop the first one off, that's the number 10. So we pop that one off, that goes into difference, and then we pop off the 7, which was the first number we entered, and that one goes into num. So then when we subtract them and get the answer 3, then we can push that onto the stack, and then it will display out. Little bit of thinking process process going on there for that one.